Hey everybody, welcome to the video. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike. That's Bob. Mango must be too far away to call out. This is our poor excuse for a chicken coop. And there's the dog. Let me give you a tour of what we're working with, and I think it'll explain what we're working towards. Let me get this plastic off here first. In the wintertime, we put plastic over this because the roosting area isn't big enough for all the chickens. It keeps the frost off the run and the snow off the run, so in the wintertime they're comfortable. I know, it's not the best looking, but it does the job. Oh no. Well, that might have to wait until it melts. Okay. Everything about this operation was pretty much free. The fence actually came from my Uncle Gary. He gave to us. The nesting boxes are old electric spools. We just cut a hole in the side and then screwed some boards onto the chain link. Old shingles left over from the house for the roof. The watering system is just a 55-gallon drum with 2 drinkers on each end, which that one's frozen. It does have a water heater in it, but this is one of the problems we run into. When it gets way cold, below 10 degrees or so, it'll still freeze on us. It's fed by a downspout, and if the downspout can't keep up, we pop off this cap and shove a garden hose down there. This roost is all scrap material. Here's the nesting box from the outside. Shingles from the house. This is metal from the barn. We wrapped it. We put bubble wrap insulation around there left over from the pole barn and put metal around there as well. Same thing to cover up the holes. Now this thing has worked well for what it is, a cobbled together mess with free material that was given to us. But it's time for an upgrade, and there's a few reasons for that. The 2 biggest reasons we're springing for an upgrade: 1, we just don't have a lot of storage as far as food and stuff, supplies to clean the coop with, and 2, we just have more chickens. We started out with 1 rooster, Mango, and 5 hens, and now we've got 2 roosters and about 20 hens. Our flock's getting bigger, and they need more space. Let's get started, and I'll walk you through what we're doing. I almost forgot, if you like what we're working on here, make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button so you don't miss the next video as we make progress on this. Awkwardness is a part of this channel. I don't apologize for it. Now, as you can tell with the leaves on the trees, this was actually done some time ago. This was done late spring, before we even started the pond repair project. We knew we were going to want to build a chicken coop / goat barn over on this side of the hill. So I figured since I had the skid steer up there at the time that I rented from Dirt Perfect, I might as well go ahead and level up a spot. And with all the track compaction of getting everything moved over there, and then just the time frame of having it sit there for several months, it should settle out enough for us to go ahead and start building the barn. So this took a little bit of forward thinking of what we wanted to do down the line to get the spot leveled up. We love where we live in southern Indiana, but you're always doing cut and fill so you can build things. Once we had that knocked out, a little bit more forward thinking. This was over the summer, and I have several videos of this on the channel if you want to check it out. But a friend of mine named Clint was nice enough to let me borrow his Woodland Mills HM 122 portable bandsaw mill. And we took quite a bit of the trees that we cut down from the pond rebuild project and cut them up into timber because we knew we were going to want to build this barn. We were trying not to waste any of the material and use up as much as possible, so it's kind of a mix of timber. We got some hickory, some oak, and a little bit of poplar. And this would give it a little bit of time to dry out before we actually started the building process. But these are all the things we had to do to get ready to build this. Jump forward in time just a little bit. This is late fall, early winter,
and we'd saved up enough money to go ahead and get some Saccrete and some sono tubes, so it was time to start getting everything marked out. We went with a 12 by 24 design, mainly because that's kind of the space we had to work with. And as far as the decision as where to put the barn, where we put it, it came down to two things. We wanted it to be close enough that it was not inconvenient to get the eggs and go down and take care of the animals. And the other, we wanted it to be far enough away that our deck doesn't smell like chicken coop and goat barn whenever we have people over or we're outside enjoying the view. So we found a happy medium right on the edge. All right. And so you have a little bit of an idea of what the end product's going to look like. This is the design we're kind of basing everything off of. The biggest difference is going to be where they have this caged in run. That will be down on the far end, not on the front like it is in this picture. Now, as far as how we ended up with this design, it was a pretty complicated process.
So here's the deal. We got some barn designs. Okay, kind of want you to look at. Now, what we're thinking, what I really want, is how's your opinion on this one? Yeah, looks like we're going with this one. She clearly chose this barn. Here you go, sweetie. Let's share the other ones. There's Gimp. Boomer is one of our oldest hens. This gray one coming up, that is Gimpy. She's our other oldest hen. $26.10. Beautiful. Here. Beautiful, maybe stay. Thank you. You good down there? $26.10.
And then, of course, once we got it all squared up, we were ready to start marking out posts. We ended up with 4x4 posts whenever we milled everything up. That's mainly because that's the material we had to work with. 6 foot on center down the back wall. The back wall will be solid. The front wall right there, I'm marking out there will be a door right in the center. And then on each end, there will be a sliding door so we can open it up for good ventilation in the summertime. And then, of course, ease of maintenance as far as getting everything cleaned out whenever we need to clean out all the litter. There's my oldest helping us get the leaves out of the way so we can actually paint the ground and not the leaves. And then we can get the John Deere 755, our 20 horsepower compact tractor, and get the auger out and start getting some post holes going. So I bought this 3-point auger used last year off Dirt Perfect, and he hooked me up on the price. He sold it to me for about $100. That being said, I do need a new auger on it though. The teeth on it are pretty worn out, and that's something I definitely need to add. The biggest problem I was having here is there's a really thin rock layer. Now, the good news about the thin rock layer is this auger will get through it. The bad news is once it gets through it, it does this. It gets hung up. Now, once we hit the rock layer, we knew we were through the fill and pretty much as deep as we needed to go. But I did want to get down to that rock layer each time. There were also just rocks mixed in with the soil, and I was having a heck of a time keeping the auger straight up and down. You can see it keeps pulling left or right. I keep pulling forward and backwards, trying to get it to bite in. The good thing here is that means I did good with my compaction. The bad thing is I'm just not getting holes that are straight up and down. And after struggling on a couple, I decided it was time for some help. So Chelsea came down and ran the tractor for me, and that allowed me to help keep the auger straight up and down, make sure we were getting really good straight holes, and then I could also kind of wiggle it back and forth and help work it through little small rocks that we came across.
them new shoes. You go put some old shoes on. Your mama would kill me if she caught you out here in new shoes.
So once we got all the holes drilled, it was time to start forming up with the sono tubes. I got the laser set up. I also bought that used off of Dirt Perfect as well. It's a pretty nice laser, Topcon. Pretty nice for our homestead anyway. And we're going to start shooting grade and make sure we got these formed up the same elevation all the way across. This was the highest point, so this one we set straight on the ground. And then obviously we'd work our way downhill. Chelsea getting the drill all set up, or the impact all set up. And we set each corner. And then worked our way down the line, obviously. Those little wooden brackets you see, that's actually good job with the words there, bud. Actually left over from the YouTube Yacht project. They're already assembled, put together. I used them as bracing for the ICF when we poured the ICF. I had them sitting in a pile. I just pulled them over, and they worked perfect for holding the sono tubes up where we needed them elevation-wise. We just set the top of those little wooden brackets at the grade we needed using the laser. And then once we got all those set into place where we wanted them, just took a Sawzall and trimmed them up. And it worked out pretty well that I was able to cut most of these about in half and then use the other part of the tube in one of the other holes. Really limiting the waste that we had on the sono tubes, which is nice. Not a sponsor, by the way, just happened to be where I bought the sono tubes at. Then once we got everything trimmed, we double checked our square just to make sure we were still good.
Yeah, just on the same spot on the outside of it. Alright, not mad about that. We're only quarter-inch out of square, that's real bad.
And then it was time for the concrete. We just used good old Saccrete 5,000-pound mix. Nothing too crazy. We thought about a couple different ways to mix this, and we ended up with the best way was just going to be drag the little portable mixer over each hole and mix it in place. Chelsea held a shovel underneath, and then I'd kind of pulled out the mag float, and it worked pretty well. And then we put 2 pieces of number 3 bar into each tube, just giving it a little bit of extra strength. And shoved them down with the mag float. Worked pretty well for us, really. And we just kind of kept moving down the line. Now the unfortunate thing here, I kind of did the math just quick in my head. I was way off. I did not have enough Saccrete. I basically bought what we had money for at the time, which did about half of the holes. But we were happy to get this much done. Used the tractor to lift the concrete up. We just worked our way down the line. And it really worked pretty well. You can see Chelsea going behind me there. I'd start mixing over the next hole, and she'd come behind me in the one we just got filled up. She'd put the rebar in and then mag the top of it off. Just got this little system going. Worked pretty well. And once we got them poured, then I went back and wet set some homemade brackets. These brackets, well, let me just show you. So these brackets I ended up making out of 3-inch wide, 1/8-inch thick steel. Now you can buy 4x4 post pre-made brackets at the store, but what you have to keep in mind is when you buy a 4x4 post from the store, it's 3.5 by 3.5. Whenever we milled our posts up, they're actually 4-inch by 4-inch. Plus, I wanted something just a little bit beefier. So I cut them down to 16 inches in length and then scored them with the cutoff wheel. That piece of timber I have on the table there is actually one of the 4x4 posts. So I just bent it around that post after I scored it. That gave us 6-inch tabs that come up the side. And I knew I had the right size that I needed. Now once we got that done, this is what it looks like. Just kind of scored and bent it. And then I took some 6011 3/32 rod and filled that in. Now I thought about using the oxyacetylene torch and heating them up and bending them. And I tried one that way, but I just couldn't get a very tight, crisp corner. There's probably multiple ways to do this, but this is just the way that worked quickest and easiest for us.
So for the welding critics out there, that was the first one.
And that was my last one. I'm kind of starting to figure out how that rod works. Definitely burns a little hotter. At least it seems like it does. I mean, it's still pretty dirty, but I'm happy with that. I think that'll work fine. And then on the ones that we wet set, I welded an anchor bolt onto it like that. And you saw me wet set those. These are the 3 that I forgot to do. Real life Mike's going to talk about that at the end of the video. He's going to say we're missing 3 brackets. No worries, we got them now. Let's get back to the video and get back to work.
About a month later, we'd saved up a little bit more money and bought a little bit more Saccharine, and we were able to finish this off. We did have to go take the auger and clean out the holes we already had drilled. Obviously, they had filled in just a little bit, and we went about a foot deeper on each hole as well, just to make sure it had a good solid bottom. And of course, I cleaned all these holes out by hand afterwards as well with a post hole digger to make sure we didn't have a bunch of mud on the bottom. It wasn't too bad to clean these back out though, just dropped right in. And we also had 2 new holes that we had not drilled yet to put in the middle. These 2 posts in the center will help support the ridge beam that runs down the length of the barn. Got my safety Crocs on for good measure. Don't worry, they're clicked into 4x4 mode. We are covered. And then it was time to pour the rest of the Saccharine. So whenever we built the house, we were super optimistic that we would get a hot tub one day. And I put a hot water spigot on the outside of the house. Now, we never did get a hot tub, and I don't know if we ever will. But we have used that hot water spigot quite a bit for cold weather concrete. And that's what we're doing here. We've got the hose ran to the hot water spigot, and we're using that to mix up our Saccharine on this cold weather.
So here's the good news. We've got 20 tons of stone here. This is what we're looking at. We call these 73s. That's what it is. It just packs really good. It's a good sub base. And we're gonna take those 73s and start backfilling this in. Here's what we ended up with. We got everything in. We got those little brackets we welded up in there. They look good. I didn't have enough. I just have an anchor bolt in that one and an anchor bolt in that one. I'll have to make some brackets to put on there, but that's not that big a deal. We can make that work. So let's go ahead and see if we can get some of this stone down here. I don't think it's going to be enough to fill all of this in, but hopefully it'll be enough to get up and around these sono tubes a little bit to give them a little bit more stability and at least keep us out of the mud so we can start framing these posts in.
So we haven't fully decided what floor we want to put in here. We're not sure what we want to put in this. We'd love to do concrete, but we just don't know if we're going to have the funding for it whenever we get to that part of the project. But just to save us some potential work in the future, I'm only filling these up to about 4 inches below the top of the sonotube. That way, if we do decide to do concrete, it shouldn't be too much work to get that formed up and ready. I don't want to have to come in later and dig a bunch out. It's pretty easy to add a little bit more. It's kind of always a pain in the butt to pull stuff back out after you have it filled in.
So this is what we ended up with. A 12 by 24, 1/2 for the goats. one half for the chickens. And then way back here on this side of the barn, we'll be able to take the chain link off of their current run and build them a run out here as well, which will be fantastic. Now, like we talked about, during the day, they free range all over the property. But whenever there's bad weather or at night, they'll have plenty of shelter and plenty of room for the amount of chickens we have. And it should be fantastic. Plus feed storage, plus tool storage for maintenance and working on things. It should work out really well. Now, if you're thinking, well, this took months of progress to get this far, how long do we have to wait to the next part? Should be Thursday, and I'll show you why. We've got all the lumber for the purlins and the rafters and everything we need to do there. I even wrote my name on it, huh? And we have all the posts and a lot of the siding already milled up and ready to go. And with the fact that I have the next 2 weeks off of work, we should get a lot of progress done on this barn. The goal in the next 2 weeks for me is to get everything we have material-wise put together and assembled so we can measure for the roof metal and measure for the rest of the barn siding. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you're enjoying the content. Lots of great stuff coming. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one, which is Thursday. The next one is Thursday. The subscribe button with all notifications, YouTube will remind you too. I gotta get to work.